Welcome back to my never-ending quest of reviewing classic Flash games. Feel free to click the notification button and join my Patreon page where you can receive perks. Today, we are going to start off with a nice, freezy game for the summer. That game is Bad Ice Cream. Bad Ice Cream is a game where you have to play as this ice cream character, or those ice cream characters, who are trapped in a maze containing enemies, the so-called bad guys. Your objective is to collect all the fruit within the levels before the timer runs out, or you get reprimanded by the enemies. By pressing the spacebar, you can either break rows of ice or form new rows of ice to defend yourself. Overall, I would give this game a 6 out of 10. The next game on my list is called Bloxorz, a brain-wrecking puzzle game where you have to navigate a maze of blocks using this cuboid. The aim of the game is to get the cuboid to fall into the square hole at the end of each stage, which are levels. Here are some of the basic rules. Do not fall off the edge, and when you're encountering red blocks, please lie in a 2x1 configuration, otherwise you'll fall through the blocks. Failure to comply with those rules will result in your world resetting. This Flash game was not only available on Friv, but also other nostalgic Flash websites that I might review in the future, such as Cool Max Games and Miniclip. Fun fact, according to most Google players, they have issues getting past level 33. In the case of me, I only managed to get past level 22. I guess I'm smooth-brained to this game. Bloxorz. I would rate this game an 8 out of 10 for destroying my brain cells. While we're on the discussion of puzzles, let's talk about Cabbage Manaiac. The story involves a greedy rabbit who was tired of eating carrots, and when he took one bite out of cabbage, he was instantly hooked. Your job is to get the rabbit to the cabbage. Outside fun fact, rabbits and most bunnies prefer leafy greens over carrots. I would recommend this because carrots, yes, they are healthy, but they contain high amounts of sugar for rabbits. Back to the game. The controls of the game, you are reliant on the mouse and the arrow keys to move yourself around the levels. You know you're doing well in a level when the cabbage changes its expression from a state of relaxation to a state of panic whenever you're near it. Personally, I would give this game a 7 out of 10. Another puzzle game I would talk about is called Shapeshifter. The game involves 3 creatures, a mouse, a rabbit, and a cross between an anteater and an elephant. They were peacefully enjoying their party until a witch came out of nowhere and randomly cast a spell on all 3 of them, resulting in you, the player, the ability to morph between the characters. Confused, the characters go through the obstacles in each level to try and contact the witch. Each character have their different abilities. When you morph into the rabbit, you can jump for long distances, float, and also double jump mid-air. When you morph into the anteater elephant hybrid, you have the power of strength, which makes it possible to break obstacles or defend yourself from enemies with an umbrella. The mouse has speed and agility, and also the ability to climb on vertical surfaces. At the end of the game, the characters meet the witch, where she proceeds to play tricks and pranks on the characters. Apparently, this game has a second official version that continues the story. However, the second version was not available on Friv. But overall, I would give this game a 7 out of 10. Another puzzle game, or should I say sets of puzzle games I would talk about, would be the Snail Bob saga. Now before I start this section, I would like to preface this by saying I was able to play the original, the third, and the fifth, instead of the second and fourth, reason being that the odd number games looked far more interesting than the even numbers. From the outside, your main objective is to navigate the snail while avoiding obstacles. That's the story for basically the entire games. Within those games, more specifically in the first version, Bob was peacefully resting at home until multiple construction vehicles came and demolished his home. As a result, he has to search for a new house. Going through the levels, they are pretty simple. All you have to do is just control the direction Bob is going, whether or not he should stop or continue, but if you fail to do either of those actions, it could result in him seeing the afterlife. After completing through all the levels, Bob finally gets a chance to relax. In the third game, Bob is located in a region similar to that of northern Egypt. His objective is to find the mummified snail and put an end to his curse. This time, there are more interactive elements such as sliding platforms, tongue toads, which are essentially this game's version of grappling hooks, and this game's version of Medusa, but for snails. Using Snail Medusa, you can permanently freeze Bob and then regenerate him, which is beneficial for holding down buttons to open doors and levers. The magnets can easily move magnetic materials, which could assist Bob in multiple ways. Other features are included such as lasers and finally teleportation pipes. At the end of his journey, you are confronted with the mummified snail. Using timing, button mashing to control the walls and the mirror, you can easily defeat him. After defeating the boss, you would receive a teapot where you have to give it to this archaeologist. In the fifth game, it follows a love story. Unlike older versions, there are new game mechanics where you are no longer reliant on the mouse button. Freedom is finally given to the keyboard, which was a welcome change for the game. You would also encounter new enemies, traps, and levels. The game also includes 4 minigames, which are essentially just parodies of well-known real-life games, such as the Snail Bob version of Whack-A-Mole. Whatever Bob is thinking, you have to click the corresponding item, otherwise he gets pissed. An item organizer, where the preferred items are selected and clicked, increasing your points. And finally, a game where you have to help Bob navigate the ocean. When you arrive to the last level, you have to get to the female snail before the other males. After defeating those opponents, Bob and the female snail can live peacefully ever after. For the original game, I would give it a 6 out of 10. The third version, I would give it a 6.5, and the fifth version, I would give it a 7 out of 10. After the last Snail Bob review, I am currently in the mood to defeat someone in a race. A virtual race. Hey, Paintball Racers sounds nice to me. Paintball Racers. A platform racing game where your purpose is to drive from one end of the map located in the kitchen to the finish line, while dodging utensils and kitchenware. To add difficulty, you have to race against skilled NPCs, who don't hold back on their ammunition and will do anything out of their way to destroy you. If it sounds hopeless, that's not a cause of concern. By clicking the mouse, you can fire your own weapons at your competitors. You are initially given an ink bomb to use as ammunition, but other types of ammunition are obtained across the map. Ammos scattered across the map include fireballs, ice bombs, and lightning in a bomb. If those weapons aren't enough for you, feel free to upgrade your vehicle by either strapping a rocket engine, and so when you press the spacebar you can gain flight, or you can increase your speed to tear your competitors. And as you do that, you can also bask in the glory, performing acrobatics mid-air, which will also allow you to increase your bonus points. Paintball Racers, an excellent platforming game, however, it will receive a 7 out of 10, mostly due to the power-ups, which would increase your speed. However, although it's amazing to basically dust the NPCs, it can cause you to lose enjoyment in the game. If racing is not your type, but you still want to destroy virtual objects, preferably with a band hammer, then Hammerball is a game for you. Hammerball is a game where you have to basically swing your hammer and defeat skilled NPCs. Due to the NPC's skills, you can lose some of your health from their attacks, but luckily some NPCs might drop items such as screws and nuts, which you can use to replenish your health. At the end of every level, you can upgrade your Hammerball to continue defeating your enemies. Nothing much to say, except I would give this game a 6 out of 10. Another game that involves platforms, driving, and even the ability to get away with homicide would be Tanks in Action. Released by the same company who made Mini Train, Tanks in Action is a puzzle driving game where you're given a license to drive a tank. You can destroy obstacles such as buildings, cars, and even people. The sensation of hearing their organs pop is pretty satisfying. Anyways, back to the review. You can also maneuver on platforms, just make sure you avoid water, sharp objects, and even other complex vehicles. Anyways, I would like to give this game a 6 out of 10. As much of a simple game as it is, the physics are extremely wonky, which could make or break your tank. Another game involving weapons which puts you in a place of defense, preferably on paths, would be Island Clash, a single-player tower-based game where you are stranded on a jungle island. By constructing a variety of towers, you can defend yourself against the enemies on the paths. As you enter new levels, the enemies' waves and attacks increase in strength. Failure to tackle majority of the enemies could result in destruction of your base. Turrets would include cannons, machine guns, shotguns, and a repair center. They can shoot and destroy tanks and aircrafts. Personally, I could not get past the Blue Lagoon level. Even with tactical airstrike and nuclear bombs, I still failed, so I gave up playing. But overall, I would give this game a 7 out of 10. The last military or combat themed game that I would be talking about, and since I'm an aviation fanatic, I couldn't leave one of my favorite childhood games off the list, would be the Tu-95 Flash game. Here's a quick history lesson about the Russian Tupolev Tu-95 Bear. Yes, that's the actual name, and if you're not interested about the history lesson, please skip to this time. Okay, let's start with the lesson. The Russian Tupolev Tu-95 Bear was, and still is, a turboprop long-range bomber that was constructed during the height of the Cold War. The aircraft portrays a jet-like design featuring swept-back wings and extremely high speed. The original purpose was to carry nuclear bombs from the Soviet Union to potentially deploy in the United States and then return. This aircraft is also famous for dropping one of the largest nuclear weapons, the Tsar Bomba. Despite being an aircraft in the 1950s, it is still flying and is praised as one of the fastest propellered aircrafts in the world. Okay, history lesson over, back to the game. The game Tu-95, you are a pilot, a trainee. Your job is to complete missions set by the commander, who is represented by this guy on the top right hand of the screen. Missions start off simple, such as departing and landing at airports, to suddenly dodging missiles, and then at the last level, you are given the task to deploy a nuclear bomb. However, as much as an aviation fanatic as I am, I have some issues with this game, more specifically its flimsy controls. This game has a balance meter, which is represented on the control panel. Your job is to make sure this balance meter stays relatively level. If it goes up, your aircraft will suddenly tip out of the sky. The thing is, if you so much as dare press the left or right arrow keys to pitch up or down slightly, you could risk your aircraft plummeting from the sky. Overall, I would rate this game a nostalgic 7 out of 10. Well, that's it for my video. Make sure to check out my Patreon page or click the notification bell to be notified about my next uploads. See you in part 4.